Chairman Jay Clayton, Ambassador Woody Johnson.
Hello, Mr. President. It's me. Sorry I haven't been around for the last 4 years, but I had to go out and buy a pen. But I'm here now, so let's go.
John Paulson, Jamie Dimon.
Okay, I'm not sure why you're just listing names, but it appears to be going quite well, and it's definitely the most lucid you've been for 10 years at a podium, so carry on.
Linda McMahon and Howard Lutnick. Thank you.
I'm not going to coach you, by the way. We've established that doesn't work, so I'm just going to go through your speech and fact-check it, okay?
As we gather today, we have an economic disaster on our hands.
I see. Terrible start, but carry on.
And it is time to send Comrade Kamala Harris...
Name-calling at 78. It's a very special kind of childness, that, isn't it?
...back home to California, where crime is rampant and fleeing is the number one occupation.
Okay, let me just fact-check that. The number one occupation in California is home health care provider. Fleeing is not a career option. It's just a verb, really.
From the day I won to the day I left, the S&P 500 increased by 80%.
Presidents have nothing to do with what happens to the stock markets, okay? You could have put Fozzie Bear in charge and it would still have the same outcome.
I delivered the largest tax cuts and reform in American history, by far.
No, they were not the largest tax cuts in history. There have been much larger ones. And anyway, your tax cuts didn't trickle down to the ordinary worker. They just made wealthy investors more wealthy. But keep going. You're doing very well.
We unleashed American energy, and within 3 years, we had increased domestic oil production.
The unproblematic issue of oil production, in fact.
The price of gasoline was $1.87 a gallon. Doesn't that sound good right now?
Yes, it does. It's a shame that it was actually $2.39, according to the American Automobile Association. You know, I'm really impressed that you can just pull random numbers out of your thatched arse like this.
And I saved the U.S. auto industry from obliteration with a 27.5% tariff on all Chinese cars.
No, it's 27.5%. Oh, wait, that's what you just said. Oh, that's a true thing. That's a true thing. You just said your first true thing. Well done. Oh, there won't be another one now for ages, like a solar eclipse. You remember those, don't you, Mr. President? You stare at them until your retinas burn off.
That remains in place to this day. They want to take it off, but they can't.
Biden has made plans to quadruple that tariff, not take it off. That's a lie.
We will bring our automaking industry to the record levels of 37 years ago.
How?
And we'll be able to do it very quickly.
Okay, how?
Through tariffs.
You've mentioned tariffs. What else?
And other smart use of...
Yes?
Certain things that we have that other countries don't.
Oh, I see. You've no idea. Right. Carry on.
I took care of our economy like I would take care of my own company.
Your companies are currently $1.1 billion in debt. And you've been ordered to pay $355 million in penalties for duping banks with fabricated financial statements that inflated your wealth.
And when our country was hit by the China virus...
Oh, God, I'm so busy fact-checking, I don't have time for the racism.
We did an incredible job, and remember, far more people died of COVID under Biden-Harris than under President Trump.
Yes, that's because for the first 2.5 years of your administration, there was no such thing as COVID. Biden has had to deal with COVID for 4 years. You've had to deal with COVID for 1.5. That's not a victory. That's basic maths.
Kamala launched a war on American energy and orchestrated a nation-wrecking border invasion with illegal aerial.
Illegal aerials?
Aliens pouring in from countries.
Which countries?
All over the world.
Which countries?
They came in from...
Yes?
Countries that nobody ever heard the name of that country.
Okay, I'll make a note of that, even though it didn't really have any grammar to speak of. Countries that nobody ever heard the name of that country. That'll interest geographers, I guess.
From mental institutions.
Wow, disgusting, but okay.
Insane asylums.
Reprehensible and unfounded, but okay, fine.
As well as record numbers of terrorists, human traffickers, and sex traffickers.
There are no records of any of these groups entering the US because they've not been recorded. You can't have records unless you record things. Do you understand? That's why they're called records. But I suppose it's difficult to record events that are only playing out in your rotting, drug-addled fascist brain.
Which together with their terrible energy policies gave us the worst inflation perhaps in the history of our country.
Wrong. The worst inflation in the history of the country was 20.49% in 1917. Today it's 2%.
100% of the net job creation in the past year has gone to illegal migrants. Think of that.
No, it hasn't, and there's no way of knowing such a thing anyway. Accurate data cannot be collected for illegal migrants. They don't stop at the border and take a survey. I thought racist rhetoric was the only thing you were good at. I mean, this is just silly now.
We have more liquid gold under our feet
Oh, stop talking about oil, you dizzy old horse.
than any other country, including Russia and Saudi Arabia.
Incorrect. Russia and Saudi Arabia have more oil than the United States, and so does Kuwait, Iraq, Venezuela, Canada. I mean, I could go on.
Paris Climate Accord, so unfair to us. We pay trillions of dollars. Other countries pay nothing.
Utter garbage. You paid $3 billion into the Paris Accord and other countries paid billions too. And by leaving it, you derailed all the goals of the Accord anyway, because you're a catastrophically stupid, oil-obsessed fossil who thinks that reducing greenhouse gases means knocking down greenhouses.
And instead of attacking industries of the future, we will embrace them, including making America the world capital for crypto and Bitcoin.
Okay, 3 people in that whole audience of economists applauded that, so perhaps the future of finance isn't in digital ape tokens.
At the suggestion of Elon Musk, who has given me his complete and total endorsement. That's nice. He's a smart guy. He knows what he's doing. He knows what he's doing.
Yeah, well, his takeover of Twitter was reported as the worst buyout for banks since the financial crisis because he turned the platform into a fascist megaphone, and he's lost more money than any billionaire this year. But apart from that, yeah, he knows what he's doing.
In 2022, fraud and improper payments alone cost taxpayers an estimated hundreds of billions of dollars.
You literally lied for years about your wealth to secure loans and do business deals. Choose your battles, big pants.
And I saved so many industries. I saved the steel industry.
No, you didn't. The steel industry was going through a period of transition from old technology to new technology, which you had nothing to do with. Next.
Viktor Orban, a very strong man.
What about him, pumpkin chops?
He's the Prime Minister of Hungary. He said the only thing missing from the world right now is President Trump. He kept the world safe.
It's true. It's true. He did say that. Unfortunately, Viktor Orban is a tyrant who controls the country's media, spreads misinformation about minorities, conflates the LGBT community with paedophiles, and has had his funds frozen by the EU for repeated accusations of corruption. But, you know, apart from that, it's great to have him on board.
We also cannot ignore the impact that the
Flood, great. Back to climate change. Good.
21 million illegal aliens driving up housing costs.
The Migration Policy Institute estimates that it's not even half that, so you made that up.
You saw in Colorado.
What did we see? Enlighten me.
A group from Venezuela, rough ones.
Fucking hell.
They took over large sections of a town, large sections of an area of Colorado.
Nope, no they didn't.
Aurora. Has anyone been there? I think you'd better stay away for a little while.
Okay, here's what happened in Aurora. Tenants living in a single apartment block told the media about how their apartments were infested with rodents and bedbugs. The company that manages that block, who are essentially slumlords, ignored their calls and instead spread a rumour that gangs had taken over the block just to change the narrative. It was just an amazing bonus that a 78-year-old tangerine dog whistle in a corset and a nappy decided to use this entirely made-up story to spread more hatred and fear.
But crime in Venezuela is down 72%.
No, it's only down 25%, and they still have one of the highest murder rates in the world.
Because they've taken all of their criminals off the streets. Not all of them.
They're taking all the criminals off the streets, not all of them. You just disagreed with yourself.
But they're coming in rapidly by bus and by plane.
Do you really think that mentioning the mode of transport somehow makes it less of a lie? At no point have you acknowledged that not all migrants are criminals packing AK-47s. Venezuela is going through a humanitarian crisis right now. People are suffering from human rights abuses and declining food supplies. They're fleeing the country to survive. They aren't coming to America to shoot you. As we know, that's the job of Republicans.
And I'm very honored to have been endorsed last week by
Oh, God, who is it now? The Wicked Witch of the West? The ghost of Mussolini? Who?
Robert F. Kennedy Jr. That was a great endorsement.
Robert F. Kennedy is a fear-mongering anti-vaccine conspiracy theorist who said that autism in children supposedly caused by vaccines was a holocaust. He's also been accused of sexual assault, but I guess that's a given at this stage.
That was a great thing when he did that. That was not easy for a Kennedy to...
Kennedy?
We defeated ISIS. It was supposed to take 5 years. It took me 4 weeks.
You did not defeat ISIS in 4 weeks. You just saw the end of it. Pentagon maps show that approximately half of the Islamic State's territory had been liberated by the time Obama left office. If you help your house cleaner to clean the house 5 minutes before the end of their shift, you haven't cleaned the whole house.
We have great people in our military, and our military is not woke. Believe me, you couldn't get these guys to be woke. Some of the guys on top are woke, but those aren't the ones that are great.
The guys on top are woke, but they aren't the guys who are great. I mean, this is profound oratory right here. It's like listening to Abraham Lincoln, you know, after he's fallen down the stairs and bumped his head.
Thank you very much, Mr. Trump.
Why are they applauding? What are they applauding?
Thank you.
Maybe I've missed something. Maybe he's just broken the world record for the most fascist dog whistles in one speech. Look at some of these people standing up as if he didn't just bumble his way through 30 minutes of baseless, vague garbage.
Thank you very much. And we're now moving, as promised, to the question and answer portion of the program.
Ah, yes, that's where we hear quite a lot of Q's, but not too many A's.
Thank you, Mr. President, for all the details on your economic policy.
All the detail. Sorry, did you just hear that speech? I've heard more economic details in a Biff, Chip and Kipper book.
Given that China is our major trading partner with our largest imbalance,
If he answers this, mate, I'll give you $100.
how can we better institutionalize trade policy and national security policy to be coordinated?
Oh, man, I'll give you 1,000.
So I had a great relationship with President Xi.
That's not what he asked. He asked about the coordination of national security and trade.
She was my dear, dear friend. He's a tough guy. He's a fierce person.
He didn't ask you what the president of China is like. He asked you about the coordination of national security and trade.
Because we built China.
No, you didn't build China. China built China. What about the coordination of national security and trade?
They would take over $500 billion a year and use it for their military and other things. And we got nothing out of that. We got some cheap product. You can buy 19 pencils instead of 2. Who the hell cares?
That's a good point about the pencils, but what about the coordination of national security and trade?
You can buy 16 dolls for your daughter instead of 2 nice dolls.
Again, good point about the dolls, but what about the coordination of national security and trade?
I believe we will have a very good relationship with China.
And how will you coordinate national security and trade? Do you want me to answer this?
And things are going to straighten out. We're going to get them straightened out very quickly.
How is this for detail, mate? The guy who asked the question. How is this for detail? Are you enjoying this detail? We're going to get everything straightened out very quickly? Or is that too much detail?
You know, we have things today called nuclear weapons. I
believe they've been around for a while, and also this has got nothing to do with the question, but carry on.
I had an uncle who was the longest serving.
No, he wasn't.
I believe the longest serving.
No, he wasn't.
I was told that by MIT.
No, you weren't.
Longest serving professor in the history of MIT.
No, he wasn't. There were others.
I'd say, Uncle John, there's no way. He was telling me about this.
What about the coordination of national security and trade with China?
And I say, Uncle John, you could never. And you know what? He was very modest.
This is no longer a sentence. I mean, you must move on.
He's one of the only people. I mean, nothing's easy in life.
This isn't, for sure. I mean, this is so incoherent. This is like listening to a series of elephant farts being forced through a tuba.
I say, the ocean is going to go down 1/100th of an inch within the next 400 years. That's not our problem. Our problem is nuclear warming.
Hold on. First of all, this was a question about China. Second of all, sea levels are rising, not falling. And it's not going to happen in 400 years, you fucking moron. It's happening right now. And there's no such thing as nuclear warming. Okay? I've never known anyone as stupid and dangerous as you. It's like watching a sea lion fumbling about with a grenade.
This is such an important job. It's a dangerous job, too.
This has gone on for so long and you've said nothing. Move on.
Bad things will happen to the world.
Move on!
Like you've never seen before. Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Again, applause. Why are people... Has an adult walked into the room or something?
And the final question, Resma, is to you.
Oh, God, please make this a simple question. Ask him if it's true that for the first 6 months of AI taking off, he was calling it Al.
The real cost that's breaking families' backs and preventing women from participating in the workforce is childcare.
Uh-oh, never ask a rich man about childcare. They know more about Fermat's last theorem than their own kids.
Childcare is now more expensive than rent for working families and is costing the economy more than $122 billion a year.
Sure, but what's that got to do with Venezuelan gangs?
20% of their income on childcare. One thing
Oh,
that
God, don't pan to him when he looks like he's thinking about ice cream.
What specific piece of legislation will you advance?
Oh, I better write this down, seeing as you're going to be mentioning a specific piece of legislation.
Well, I would do that, and we're sitting down. I was
We're sitting down, I was, okay?
somebody. We had Senator Marco Rubio.
What?
My daughter Ivanka was so impactful on that issue.
When? What are you talking about? Can you just answer the question? You've been asked for a specific piece of childcare legislation. Go.
But I think when you talk about the kind of numbers that I'm talking about,
When you talk about the kind of numbers that I'm talking about, right, that's nonsense, but that's fine.
that because look, childcare is childcare. There's something you have to have it.
Childcare is childcare, you have to have it. Okay. What about this specific childcare legislation? Can we sort of edge towards the periphery of an answer here?
But when you talk about those numbers compared to the kind of numbers that I'm talking about,
You said that before and it made no sense. What numbers? Whose numbers?
by taxing foreign nations at
We're not talking about tax right now, we're talking about childcare. I know it's hard to differentiate between the two because you know all about both.
those numbers are so much bigger than any numbers that we're talking about.
Okay, that's the third time you've mentioned the numbers thing and it makes no sense. You are insane!
Coupled with the reductions that I told you about on waste and fraud and all
Waste and fraud, what the f***? She asked you about childcare. Stay on childcare.
I want to stay with childcare, but those numbers are small relative to the kind of economic
Oh
numbers.
God, not the numbers again.
As much as childcare is talked about as being expensive, it's relatively speaking not very expensive.
Oh, that's a relief. So she's just wrong. Great, that's fine.
This is about America first. It's about make America great again.
Ah, Addie said it. She wanted him to map out childcare legislation and he's given her car stickers. Abandon this. Abandon it. It's done. This is over.
Thank you very much, Mr. Trump. It's great that you accepted our invitation.
Oh, God, who's this oily-haired news anchor from 1970? Get him off the stage. Get everyone off the stage. Abandon this. It's over. I'm done. I can't do this anymore. I can't do another 4 years. I don't think anyone can.
Thank you, Bob. Thank you.
No, I didn't add that music.